most of these companies are building on infrastructure platforms. So as you go down that list, it's a mix of some guilds, but in my mind, guilds are almost becoming an infrastructure type of play in Web3 anyhow. And it's because they're part of that underlying ecosystem that you need in order to have a sustainable model. You need players, and the guilds are the ones that are going to be bringing in the players. Now, I think many of the guilds you see, like I think Merit Circle, they may not have been on here, but YGG, those companies and those guilds are really, in many cases, bringing more scholars, not paying players to the table. But I do expect to see that transition as we have better games that are launching, where guilds are going to be critical to the long-term success of a lot of these actual gaming platforms. So interesting that you see so much infrastructure focus. Totally agree. I've said this, I think, on this cast before, but I was asked this week by a couple folks, which specific blockchains do I think have the best chance of success in the long run? For me, there's a clear number one and a clear number two, and then there's some others that are, potential third, fourth, and so on. So Immutable X is absolutely positioned right now as the best potential blockchain, as the layer 2 Ethereum. So I think I mentioned, they do the rollup, ZK rollups for transactions, zero gas transaction fees. They've got the best security model based on layered on top of Ethereum. It's not a side chain or anything crazy like that. I think Polygon is the number 2. And again, in my opinion, now Polygon is not my favorite chain, but I think from look at the number of projects, the number of developers, their scalability model, they're positioned well. And then beyond that, you can look at things like Solana and so on as eventually, they may have some market cap. I don't think it's a winner take all type of approach either. I think you're going to see a lot of different chains that emerge that have good games on them. And over time, we're going to get to where you can just be chain agnostic, and you may not need to know this is on Immutable X or this is on Polygon. You'll have more secure bridging opportunities in the future.
I mean, 100%. That's the goal, right? If we want to onboard more, it's like gamers, they don't care, like they don't want to have the whole headache thing of caring of what blockchain they should be on, or is this the right or is this wrong, is this secure, is this not secure, can I play with my friends here, can I trade the NFTs here and all that stuff. They don't want to care about that. So like you say, like hopefully in the future we it doesn't matter which one you're on, and like maybe you even don't know if you don't like dig into it.
Yeah, 100%. And like what you say, Annie, about Immutable, I also agree that Immutable is probably in the best position right now for what they're doing. The one thing that I am cautious of, not even that I'm like overly worried, but something that I am looking for or looking at, I should say, is like the scalability, because they don't really have a massive game or project on there that's bringing everyone to there yet. And once they do have that, are they going to have the infrastructure to actually make that and sustain that, right? And it's just something that hasn't really been proven just yet. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious. I have no doubt that they're going to be able to do it, but it'd be ignorant of me not to even like to say, oh, it's all like hunky dory and it's all rainbows and flowers, because that's the whole point of like projects, right? That they're here to solve a problem, and that's the problem that they haven't really faced yet. So to see if they can overcome that is going to be a big thing. I think the biggest project that I'm aware of that was on their project, was on the protocol, or on the chain, sorry, is Gary Vee's book games. I would assume, like I might be wrong with that, I would assume that would be one of the biggest, just because Gary Vee's celebrity and him bringing everyone to it. I could be wrong on that, and I'm very open to say that I can be wrong. But just based on like my assumption here, right, educated assumption, I'd assume. And as far as I know, that went really well. So that was already one step in the right direction, 100%. So that's definitely a thing. And as for like the multi-chains, I agree, man. Like I think the whole winner takes all is very like tribal. It's very like outdated. It's a very outdated way of thinking. It's like today, I'm not sure about us. Like we don't play as much games as I'm sure we like, just time constraints. But I mean, if we did have unlimited time, I'm sure none of us here are going to say, yo, I'm only playing PC games, or I'm only playing PlayStation games. Like, that's just not the way that people think. It's like, oh, yo, we have again. I'll say Smash Bros. Because I'm not going to say Pokemon. I don't really want to play Pokemon. But, like, Smash Bros. Is on Nintendo Switch. I'm going to buy a Switch just so I can play that. Xbox has I don't know, let me think of something. Fable. I'm gonna buy an Xbox just for that. PlayStation has Crash Bandicoot. I'm gonna buy a PlayStation just for that, right? Like we're gonna just choose the consoles and the chains that have the games or the projects on them, as long as they're good enough to bring us to them. I don't think it's a chain thing. I think it's a game thing, and that's my personal take on that. But yo, guys,
maybe one additional point here, TSG. I think the reason, well, there's two reasons that you see people arguing about chains. One is, frankly, just personal investment, right? They want to see the chain they own tokens in win because it increases the value of their holdings. The second reason, though, I think is a fair one. In many cases, when we talk about infrastructure plays or like in Web 2 hardware, oftentimes you will see only one type of a hardware win out in the market, and then everything else just goes away completely, and that becomes the single one adopted, right? So it's the same way also with some software. So you look at like Facebook and MySpace don't still exist for all intents and purposes. It's just Facebook. And so when you hear people talking about, are we going to have a multi-chain world, in this space, it's because in some cases you do see a winner-take-all ecosystem that emerges if one is just either far enough ahead of others or it gets the network adoption that then it's too difficult for someone else to enter. So I think that's where that comes from. But I agree. I don't think this is the case that you're only going to have a single winner-take-all approach that lands with the chains.
Yeah, and like I mentioned on the last episode as well, it's like I think certain chains will have certain utilities that the same way, like yes, Facebook and MySpace don't exist at the same time, but we still have Facebook and TikTok. We still have Facebook and Twitter, right? They play different roles. So I think the same thing.